Hello and welcome to the channel of Hashaliach, and today I'm going to do something completely different. I'm just going to give you a little bit of my testimony so that you can get to know a little bit about who it is that sits here speaking or ranting and raving or however you want to look at it. By the way, nice hat. Got this off a friend um, who's got a lot of backbone. And so, anyway, I thought I'd wear it like in that so that, I mean, what's wrong with wanting to make your country great again? Now, I'm no American, I don't live in America. I want my country, Scotland, the whole UK to be great again. I want Australia, New Zealand, Europe, all countries to be great again, to be free. What's wrong with that? Why do people get so worked up? Demonic spirits, friends, demonic spirits. So, I'll give you a little bit of my testimony, just a very brief background to my earlier life, and I want to focus a little bit more on recent events. But because I'm giving my testimony, I can be much more relaxed. When I'm normally giving messages, I'm usually kind of reserved, so that I can articulate what it is that I'm wanting to say, but and make sure you get the message clearly. And usually I'm delivering something, that God has really put in my heart. So I want to make sure that you can understand it. But this is me just being me, so I can be a bit more relaxed. It's almost like the Lord's released the bridle a bit and says, "Go on, then you can rant and rave for a wee bit." So, and it'll help you to see that I'm human, just like you. You know what? Those are prophetic words, and you're going to hear them a lot more in the future. I'm human, just like you. Why would those be significant words? For another time. So, I'm Scottish, if you haven't guessed. And I spent many years living in Scotland, and then I lived all over England for many, many years, 10 years in London, and a good few years in other places, lived 10 years in Australia, and I've been here in New Zealand for over 4 years and travelled to many other countries around the world in between that time. I got saved in March 2001. God gave me two scriptures, Acts 2:15, study to show thyself approved, a workman unto God, rightly dividing the word of truth. And so that's what I try and do. I've done a lot of teaching, preaching, and just about every denomination you can think of: Methodist, Baptist, Anglican, Independent, Pentecostal, Brethren, if I haven't said that already. My mind escapes me. Maybe it's because it's very early in the morning. Need a drink. Yeah. Oh, it's full of cayenne pepper. Good for you. Cleans the tubes out. Keeps the ticker talking. You know, there's once or twice in the past my ticker stopped talking, but by the grace of God, I'm still here. So the other scripture, Acts 17:11, the Bereans were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they searched the scriptures daily to see if these things were so. So when you see me keep saying to you, check everything out, check it out, check it out, check it out, that's why. Because that's what God told me to do. Told me to study. If I was going to speak to God's people, I better knew what I was talking about. And I'm not saying I'm the greatest, I'm not saying I'm the worst. I am what I am. And yeah, I do what God tells me to do. Or I try. Sometimes I don't, and it ends up really bad. Believe you me, real bad. That's God's love. Love. So I studied and studied and studied, and I've always been a bit of a student ever since I was very young. I remember, I think I was about 4 years old, and I was reading the King James Bible, and it was Leviticus. I hadn't a clue was saying, but I just remember it. Anyway, it was quite a long time before I became a Christian. And before I became a Christian, I was an expert. I specialised in being a drunk, travelling around the world. Everywhere I went, booze, 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 and more booze. Four walls of a pub, and it was a mad, wild ride. But the strange thing is, ever since I became a Christian, especially the last few years, it's just as wild a ride. In fact, I would say it's much wilder, but much better, much more interesting. So, let me think. See, I've got no notes. I just thought to myself, I'll shoot from the hip. A number of years ago, I used to have a channel called Shooting from the Hip, but I stopped it. But mainly because a lot of people said to me, you've got to start a YouTube channel. And I kind of knew that God wanted me to do that. But at that time, a few years ago, I really only started it because of the pressure of people saying it to me. And after I'd made, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 videos, I didn't feel it was right. So anyway, I stopped. And 5 weeks ago, I think it's 5 weeks today since I started this channel. And that was because God clearly said to me, start the YouTube channel. So I did, anyway. So, what am I like as a person? Utterly insane, but it's good fun. I love it. Absolutely love it. You see, the rains are off now, like, and I can just sit here and rant and rave, and it's just feel good. I'm feeling good. Yeah. Anyway, so I had quite a lot of ill health when I was young, with bronchitis, and I often spent a lot of time in bed. So I started to read. I read a lot. I used to read my parents' library books when I was a very, very young boy. I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I was reading these books that adults read came from the library. Yeah, there used to be such a thing as a library, and it had real books, and I loved real books. So I've always been a student, and I've got a massive collection of certificates and qualifications. I've got 3 degrees. I've got a degree in theology, a degree in information system security, which is cyber security, and a degree in security and terrorism. And when I look back, and when I say that, at the end of the day, when you get these qualifications, you're just studying a foundation, a body of knowledge to give you that foundation to move on. Why they call things master's degrees, I think that's just pride and arrogance. But it has helped me a lot with my career. And unbeknown to me, it's helped me a lot with the path that God had set for me without me even realizing it. Even in my career, 40 years in IT, the last 15, 16 in cybersecurity and cyber terrorism. And I think back to the things that I learned, especially in cybersecurity. Well, they were all very useful. When I learned my theological degree, I was trained by many, many good people from many different backgrounds, but they were all theologically sound, and they helped me enormously. But my career sort of degrees that I studied, um, I kind of knew about 15 years ago. I sort of, I believe it was God speaking to me. The kind of cyber attacks that you're seeing now, I knew they were coming back then. I just knew it. And I more or less know what's coming, I believe, in the future as well with regard to this. But I also did a master's degree in security and terrorism, or counter-terrorism. And I did that because I wanted to focus on cyber terrorism. But because of the training that was given within that degree, I had to study a lot about terrorist groups and propaganda and social engineering and understanding all these things. And propaganda and social engineering. I mean, look at mainstream media. Look at the way they have programmed people and the lies that they spew out. I mean, talk about propaganda on steroids. And that fits in very well with social engineering, and we've all been socially engineered. I can tell you that right now. But when you understand that, you break free from it. So I had to learn a lot about terrorist groups, Al Shabaab, Al Qaeda, ISIS, Jamal al Islamiyah, and many, many others in the history of terrorism, actually, which goes back, way back into the Bible, believe it or not. But because of these things, I realise, because of things that God's spoken to me that are coming, that understanding those groups, understanding the way they operate and how they recruit and just all their tactics and strategies is very, very, very useful to me. And, I'm convinced that as we move forward, I'll be giving out a lot of information and um, prophetic stuff regarding these groups, as well as a whole range of other things, natural disasters and so on and so forth. Well, I say natural, maybe not so natural. From both sides, from the side of God and from the side of man, who's got a wee bit too big for his boots with HARP, scalar technology, DEW, which is direct energy weapons, and so on and so forth. I'm sure you've heard of these things. So, anyway, I'm ranting and raving. I don't want to make this video too long because I'll be giving bits more of my testimony as I move on. But I want to go back to November 2021 when I was watching some videos. They were leaked FBI videos, and they were showing the torture of children. I was studying some of the stuff that was going on in the world and really having my eyes open to just how big this sort of thing was. And anyway, I watched those videos and I flipped. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, excuse me, I actually ran out into the pouring torrential rain. And I was living on this property that had acres, and so there was like a big field in front of me. I was living in this cottage. It was about 18th century, beautiful old cottage. Anyway, I ran out into the pouring rain, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I threw my Bible as far as I could, just screaming at God. I couldn't take any more of what I was seeing. I just, I was snapping. That Bible lay in the field for, I don't know, maybe 6, 7 hours, and it was soaked. It was like in a river in mud. This is that Bible, the complete Jewish study Bible that you often hear me speak from. You would think it had just come straight out of a shop. It is incredible. It was completely undamaged. I never even realised till much later that, thought, wow, how could that possibly have even survived? But it did. And so, anyway, if I thought God was going to come down to me and put an arm round my shoulder and say, there, don't worry, everything's all right, then I had a bit of a rude awakening. And I mean, it was God visited me. There was a 7-week period from the middle of November right through to the beginning of January 2022. And boy, that cayenne pepper really does something to your throat. Excuse me. So, where was I? See, I've got a habit, and because I'm old, I can get away with saying like that. Where was I? If you're younger, you can't get away with that. It's the benefits of growing old. So, yeah, where was I? So, I became extremely, extremely ill. It was, I mean, it was actually thought that I died twice during that 7-week period, and it even felt like it to me. But I'm going to be brief with this because I'm going to open up a lot as I move forward. But What really happened was I entered what I can only say is a spiritual dimension in 7 weeks. Those 7 weeks seemed like 7 seconds to me, and other times it seemed like 7 years. And there was a lot God was doing in my life. There was a lot of discipline, hard, heavy discipline, and a lot of training. And God was showing me a lot of what was going on in the demonic realm. It was just incredible, the things that I saw. I kept thinking, woe unto me. I tried to escape, and there was no escape. I couldn't get away from what was happening to me, and it absolutely terrified me. I mean, talk about the bowels doing the merry fandango. I was glad I was pretty close to a toilet, I can tell you that. Seriously, it was some experience. But in that experience, like I say, I was very, very ill. God started to show me a lot of things. I wrote down a lot of prophetic words, and I started to have visions 24/7, literally 24/7, for it was about 3 consecutive days I had. And later on, I started to have more visions, but they were kind of different and not as frequent. I mean, part of the 7 weeks was this 3 days. And in that period, it was like, what's the best way to explain it? It was like I had 6 screens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like 6 visions were playing all at once. And it really freaked me out. And in the visions, many scriptures would sort of float to the front and then fade. And I'm talking about hundreds, maybe thousands of scriptures. I don't know how many visions I saw. I suspect it was hundreds. It was like God had plugged a USB stick into my head and he was doing a download, and that's how it felt. This is a download. And some of the stuff that I was describing some of the stuff, it was recorded, and I actually requested for it to be stopped because I just kept saying, if this is from God, he'll bring back everything he needs at the right time. But many of those things are burned into my brain anyway, and I've been releasing some of those visions and words since I started this channel. But anyway, so I was having all these visions, and I just got the impression that I was having dialogues with the Lord inside, but I was seeing a lot of things, and I saw the very first vision that I got. It was actually a row of fallen angels. I went along them and I actually saw their faces. I saw them standing there, and I saw a row of God's angels as well. And the thing that struck me was that some of the fallen angels were absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But I knew by the Spirit they were evil. And some of God's angels, believe you me, they were fierce. They were terrifying. But after I saw that, I was many times when I was taking the vision, I was actually there. I was present. I was actually standing there, and I could see everything very, very clearly. It's very strange, but it's like it's not like a dream. It's not, it's supernatural. You've been transported, and I knew I'd been transported into a completely different dimension, a different realm, and watching all these things. But one of the first visions I had, it's like I saw all of history. All of history. I was transported. I was actually in the First World War, the Second World War, Crimea, Boer, and events going all the way back to 2,000 years ago. where I stood next to two Roman soldiers that are as close to me as what this screen is. I could see their faces so clear in their uniforms, and I knew they were looking at the cross of Jesus. I couldn't see the cross. I just knew by the Spirit where I was in the event that was taking place. Now, I've been very quick in saying this, but throughout looking all the way back, it's like I must have saw thousands, hundreds of thousands of faces. The way these visions work, it's very difficult to explain it or articulate it. But faces would come and go, come and go, come and go. And I knew these were movers and shakers throughout history. And it was just the weirdest thing. But I was actually in many of these events. One of the things, so I saw it felt like to me I saw all of history. That's what it felt like. And then I saw things in the present going on, and I've released already some of the stuff, the prophetic vision that I released about 2 or 3 days ago, and I saw things in the future, and the things that I saw in the future were truly apocalyptic. The only way I can deal with this is that I believe that I saw what's going to happen in the very end. I don't believe these things are going to happen right now, but I'm not God. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking. But they were truly apocalyptic. It was like stuff straight out the book of Revelation, the devastation that I saw. But one of I'm kind of mulling whether to say something. No, I'm not going to say it. Look, that's very, very briefly my testimony. I deliberately didn't have any notes. I wanted you to just like get a little bit of understanding who I am. See that, I can be human. There's that word again, human. I'm human just like you. James chapter 5 says Elijah was a man just like us. Elijah was human. Is it possible that there's some non-humans living amongst us? Nah, come on. Wake up, laddie. So I was called by God to initially study, teach and preach, and I have done a lot of that, and and I still do it. But it was 2021 that really propelled me into the prophetic. I wrote a lot of things down, saw a lot of visions. I wasn't very comfortable with a lot of this stuff. If I had given my testimony, if somebody had given my testimony to me, what happened to me, I would have rejected it as no, you need to seek out some treatment. But I will open up, and I have done in previous videos. You've heard some of the things that's happened to me, and I'll reveal more. But I want to be sensitive to, some of the things that I give. It's good giving this testimony because I can just relax and just be me. And don't get me wrong, I'm being me when I give the other videos, but I have to try and be a bit reserved just to get across what God has told me. And He has given me a sense of humour. I think humour is very important in these days. It's very important. Yeah, things are going utterly insane, but I keep my sense of humour because if I didn't have that sense of humour, I would top myself. But these are the greatest days ever. Believe you me, they are. They are the greatest days ever. I get attacked a lot by the devil, as do all of us. But it's like a constant barrage against me, trying to take me down. And I've seen how God has strengthened me. Things that would have knocked me down before are no longer knocking me down. I can see it, and I can see it in others, how God is raising us up. God is raising us up. we're going to a higher level, so to speak, rising above the circumstances. And he's calling people all over the world. He's drawn people to himself, and he's saying, all you need to say to me is, here am I, send me. No holds barred, no conditions. Here am I, send me. I've experienced enough of this world, and I've seen it is a fraud and it is a lie. I want what God has got for me, and I want what God has got for you. I want it for you, so that you can experience His great love, His great power, and allow Him to totally pull you out of the madness of this world. We're in the world, but we're not of it. You'll see it from a different perspective. You will have no fear. Believe you me, you'll have no fear at all about anything that Satan is thrown at us, this world is thrown at us. It is completely mad. But while we go day by day, remember, keeping this, by all means, listen to prophetic words, pray for signs, wonders, and miracles. Absolutely, healings. Of course, we want that. But fill yourself up with God's word, because that's the plumb line. And anything that comes your way, you can line it up with that. And if it doesn't line up, reject it. Do not be deceived in these days. So, I'm going to stop there. I hope my rantings and ravings have made sense. I'm actually going to make a playlist. At some point, I'm going to make a playlist and I'm going to call it Rantings and Ravings. And I'm just going to get in front of the camera and rant and rave about whatever's going on at the time or whatever I feel like speaking about, because there's a lot going on. And it'll be good because I'll be able to just be completely relaxed and act like a nutcase. I don't have to actually act like a nutcase because I am a nutcase. I have to act like a normal person. What is a normal person? Come on, what's a normal person? Not me, that's for sure. I'm human just like you. God bless you all. Have a great day. Until the next time. Amen.